After 40 years of hard work, I thought I was dead. When I opened my eyes, I found that I was reborn on the wedding night. In front of him was Wang Mion's young and handsome face. It's a pity that I've seen enough in this life. Red candles lit flames. Wang Mion pushed the door in. I looked at the young Wang Mion carefully. After all, it was too long, and I almost forgot the demeanor of Tan Hualang when he was young. I have to say that this is indeed the face that can bewitch women. And I also had a spring heart back then. Pity his poor family, understand that it is not easy for him, and think about him everywhere. But now, I don't have that girlish heart anymore. Moreover, soon the mother-in-law will send someone to call him away. This was the case in the previous life. A mother-in-law who was born in the countryside but provided for a flower lover on her own, can be described as noble and proud. She was happy to marry my family. But she was afraid that she wouldn't be able to control me, and the first trick of this newlywed marriage was the dismount she gave me. Sure enough, Wang Mion was just about to drink wedding wine with me, and her mother-in-law's personal maid Cherry came over and knocked on the door, saying that the lady wanted the young master to go. Wang Mion looked at me, a little embarrassed. In my previous life, I was considerate and told him to go quickly. I don't care, this life, I don't want to live anymore. I don't care if he's embarrassed or not, so I just squeezed the wine glass, chuckled, got up and said, "Husband, do as you please." Wang Mion froze for a while, then put down his wine glass and said to me, "I'll come when I go. He can't come back once he goes." There was no consummation on the wedding night. This was the first handle my mother-in-law took on me. I have been at a disadvantage since I married into the Wang family. And I have never been able to make up for it since then. After Wang Mion left, my personal maid Adu advised me not to be afraid. What am I afraid of? Those who have died are not afraid of anything. I took off my wedding dress, changed into a regular dress, and said to her, "Let's go, I'll go see my mother-in-law too." Since I am not feeling well, my daughter-in-law naturally wants to be present, regardless of whether he is on the wedding night or not. I took Adu's hand, let the two little girls hold the lamp, and followed 4 other women to watch the road, all the way to my mother-in-law's yard. The house of the Wang family was rented by my father, and the silver was given to Wang Mion, saying that it was our family's dowry. Wang Mion's self-improvement and self-esteem naturally refused to accept it, and in the end, he wrote an IOU before he was willing to stay. The yard is a small yard with 2 entries, and it will take a while. The mother-in-law's house was lit up, and the window reflected the figure of their mother and son. I coughed, looked at the starry sky tonight, guessed that tomorrow must be a good day, and then shouted, "Mother-in-law, my daughter-in-law is here to see you." The voice inside quickly stopped. Then Wang Mion walked out and frowned and asked, "Why are you here?" I shook off my handkerchief and said, "Since my mother-in-law is sick, my daughter-in-law will naturally come to serve." Wang Mion said, "No, you go back first. Get back. How can I sing when I go back?" Naturally, I refused, wiped my sideburns with a handkerchief, and said, "My husband feels sorry for me, I know, but my mother-in-law is sick." But I, as a daughter-in-law, ignore it, isn't it a mouthful? Besides, on the first night of my wedding, as soon as I entered the door, my mother-in-law fell ill. I must personally come to serve and take care of my mother-in-law, and when my mother-in-law is better, I will feel at ease. Wang Mion was obviously stunned by what I said. This seems to him to be just a trivial matter, but he doesn't know that I will die in this small thing. In my previous life, I worked hard for 40 years, and I was tortured by this piece of chicken and dog, and I couldn't defend myself, and finally died early. Now this aggrieved life has to be done again. The script is spread, and it is written in black and white that eating people does not spit out bones. How can I be willing? B1001 B1001. Wang Mion didn't let me serve in his mother-in-law's room in the end, and he himself quickly returned to the room. It's just that when I make trouble like this, he is not in the mood to make out with me, and he is a little deliberately cold to me. Look, they are really like mother and son, and they all want to pinch me, looking at me, a girl from the Ministry of Rights mansion, who is thin-skinned and bound by the 3 principles and 5 constants. So she must lower her posture and bow down to him. He reads well, has a smart head, and fights me, a little woman, which is simply overkill. So in my last life, I really did what he wanted, it's just that the skin is still the same, and the core of the internal force has been replaced with a Rakshasa. I have long been with him with the mentality of dying and breaking the net. Does he really dare to divorce me? Hey. I suddenly realized that marrying into their family with such an identity was a low-level marriage. He should honor me and provide for me. I am arrogant and domineering. He can't do anything to me. I am obedient, but he wants to step on me a few times. How angry it is. I slept well at night. And when I got up, Wang Mion was no longer there. Last night, I fell asleep, and Wang Mion tossed and turned, but he tossed and turned for most of the night. Where are the people? I asked. Adu said that the uncle had already gone to greet the old lady and asked the girl to go over by herself when she woke up. They didn't even wait for me, but he was very angry. After I finished freshening up, Adu took the prepared greeting gift and asked me if I had missed anything. I pointed to the brocade box in her hand and said, "Withdraw, replace it. In the brocade box is a brocade that I personally embroidered a forehead. The things are not precious, and the heart is heavy. But my mother-in-law doesn't like it. She is not good at embroidery herself, but she said that my craftsmanship is rough." At that time, I would only bow my head and apologize, taking all the responsibility on myself, and I didn't dare to say that she was not at all. But I have been holding stinky feet all my life, and I don't have a smile, and now this flattery loves to shoot whoever shoots. My mother-in-law and Wang Mion sat in the same place to eat, and when they saw me coming, my mother-in-law greeted me with a smile, and my daughter-in-law came. Look, this is people's kung fu. Sometimes I really admire my mother-in-law, who doesn't look like a village woman from the countryside at all. After yesterday, today is still smiling. I also smiled and said hello to my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law came up and took my hand and said kindly, "You are young and sleep heavily, which means that you are in good health, unlike me, an old woman, who gets up early and can't sleep even if you want to." "Well, this means that I am lazy," I said. "My mother-in-law can understand. That's a blessing for my daughter-in-law." The mother-in-law choked. I pretended not to see it and asked Adu to present the gift I had prepared. This gift is a bit vulgar, but my mother-in-law likes it. The Wang family lacks things the most, but they have to pretend to be noble. I can't praise gifts in my previous life, I just didn't give the right appetite. In this life, if she wants money, I will give her gold, I said. My daughter-in-law's skills are poor, so I don't have to make a gift for my mother-in-law. This gold bracelet is also chosen by my daughter-in-law herself, and my mother-in-law tries to see if it fits. The gold bracelet was heavy, and the mother-in-law touched it for a long time without speaking. I sat down in my seat. Wang Mianjing looked at me silently. I served him a bowl of porridge and said, "My husband worked hard last night. Hurry up and eat." Wang Mion lowered his gaze. I can't guess what he thinks in his heart, and now, I don't bother to guess. After eating, Wang Mion and I went back to the house. He found an errand in the Hanlin Academy, got 3 days off to get married, and happened to have nothing to do today. We went back to the room, and Wang Mion dismissed everyone and asked me to sit down. "Are you going to talk to me?" I sat down, picked my nails, and asked, "What's wrong with you, husband?" Wang Mion touched the corner of the table and said, "For a long time, you and I are married. We are a family, husband and wife. One prosperous and the other is lost. If there is something wrong with your mother, you should take care of it." Here he is again, and he is used to saying these beautiful things to me. It's just that I thought he was going to settle accounts with me. But I didn't expect him to endure it. Also, he has not yet worshipped the Prime Minister, and those styles of saying one thing are not there from the beginning. Now he is just a small editor of the Hanlin Academy, new to officialdom, has no power, and must be cautious and cautious. I interrupted him. "Husband, when you go back tomorrow, are the gifts ready?" Wang Mion was stunned for a moment. Naturally, he didn't. The Wang family couldn't get all the gifts they could get. In my previous life, I made up for it with my own dowry, and my mother-in-law called me over, beating the drum for a long time, not mentioning a single coin, but asking me to think about my husband. To think about your husband is to think about your own face. This was true, so I did it in my previous life. And I didn't get a favor when I took the money, it was purely a voluntary beating. Now, what shame is shameless? Forget it. Wang Mian was knocked down by my question. I sighed deliberately. Got up and said, I'm tired, go to take a nap first, and my husband will see what gift to bring tomorrow. It was a quiet afternoon. Wang Mian was nowhere to be seen, and I didn't bother to ask, but my mother-in-law found out and called me over. When I passed, she was digging up her furniture, and the box was broken to the bottom, and there were only a few copper plates. She said, Bai Niang, you take it all and prepare some gifts for tomorrow. Our family is not as good as your Shilang mansion. And we can't prepare good gifts. This mother's demeanor, give it to you, don't dislike it. Even if I had been mentally prepared, I was still stunned. She thought I couldn't afford to lose this person. But she didn't know that I was no longer a person. I took the copper plate in her hand and smiled happily. Thank you, mother-in-law. I bought 2 pounds of tofu with the copper plate she gave me. The tofu was snow white. And I deliberately had someone tie a red ribbon and put it on the table in the room. Wang Mian came back at night and asked me what it was. I was removing the red hairpin on my head, and when I heard this, I smiled and told him that this was a return gift that my mother-in-law asked me to prepare. I said, don't blame my mother-in-law, husband, she has taken out all her own money, and I understand, although the gift is not heavy. My father and mother know my husband's difficulties and will not blame him. The second half of the sentence was swallowed back by Wang Mian's eyes in fright. I had never seen Wang Mian's sharp warning eyes, but soon he lowered his eyes and said, accept it, I have prepared another gift. His eyes are filled with lingering fears. B1001 B1001. Wang Mian borrowed money from his classmates and prepared another gift. I went back to my house with him the next day. My eldest sister has been betrothed, and she is the third son of the Ministry of Household Affairs, and because he is still in office and has not returned to Beijing, the marriage has been delayed. My third brother is studying at the academy and doesn't come back often on weekdays, and today is the day I go home, and he also took leave. Although my mother was partial, I was biological after all, and when she saw me back, she hurriedly asked me if everything was okay, but I was indifferent. I once told her that life in her husband's family was difficult, and her mother-in-law was not easy to serve, and my mother interrupted me before she heard it, saying that no daughter-in-law was easy to do, so let me be patient. When I heard this, I honestly became the daughter-in-law of the Wang family. Later, when the eldest sister got married, the brother-in-law pushed the eldest sister for a powder head. And my mother knocked on the door of the Shengshu mansion regardless of her identity and wanted to pull the eldest sister to leave. At that time, I understood that whether it was this Shilangfu or my mother, it was the eldest sister's confidence, not mine, and this time, I don't want anyone to be my confidence. My mother asked me how I was, and I said, my mother-in-law is tricky, my husband has a black belly, and this Wang family is a fire pit. My mother, elder sister, I laughed and said, are you kidding? My mother is so scared. My mother laughed dryly and lowered her head to touch the teapot. The eldest sister said to me, second sister, how can you scare your mother so much? I said obediently, don't blame sister. Sister is just joking. My mother came back to her senses and said, don't be so frivolous when you marry. Wang Mian is a stable child. You married him, a mistress. You have to help him manage the inner house in the future. You can't be so unsightly. After a pause, he said, Mother knows that this marriage has wronged you, but your father and I also have our own considerations. Although Wang Mian is poor, he has a high level of talent, and he will definitely make a big difference in the future. This is not bad. Wang Mian has risen all the way, and he is like a fish in water in officialdom, and he will indeed get ahead quickly. His potential stock, my father grasped it very accurately. Before he was developed, my father needed me to nourish this sapling, and as he became bigger and bigger, he became the thigh that our Qin family had to hold to the death. Their interests are connected and they are one with each other, but they want me to be the embellishment in the middle. After lunch, it was time to go back, and my mother called me aside again and stuffed me with a few silver bills. There is no one who is not wronged as a daughter-in-law. You have been obedient since you were a child. As long as you serve your mother-in-law well and take care of your husband, there will always be a day when you can see the moon in the future. I squeezed the silver ticket and looked at myself in my mother's eyes. The girl with a beautiful face and snow-white skin really wanted to say, "Mother, I tried it, but it didn't work. If I say, I can't get along with the king, you, shut up." My mother hurriedly interrupted me. "Don't talk nonsense, you have just gotten married. It is normal to have stumbling. How can husband and wife be so smooth? They have to get along for a long time." I didn't say anything, pursed my lips and waited for her to finish speaking, and stubbornly spoke, "If I want to leave, what will my mother do? Why do you have to ask again?" Probably still unwilling. But my mother still didn't disappoint me. She answered the question, saying, "Go back quickly." I smiled sadly. The silver bill in my hand is the greatest concern my mother can give me, regardless of past and present lives. I have long understood that my mother only has a sister in her eyes, and my father only has a younger brother in her eyes, and I can do without it. B1001 B1001. On the way back, I was silent. Wang Mion looked at me, held my hand in the palm of his hand, and said, "Thank you for your hard work today." I pulled out my hand and said lightly, "It's not as hard as my husband." Wang Mion glanced at me, was not angry, and said, "In the future, if you don't want to come back less." He could naturally see that my parents were partial, otherwise I wouldn't have married him. The world prays for a long life, and I have 2 lifetimes in vain, if people know. I don't know how envious I am, but the world didn't say that people want to live a long life and have no worries every year. If you are like me, living in a dead man's grave in your last life, what's the point of doing it again in this life? Wang Mion does love and value me, but this value and care are conditional. He wanted me to be filial to my mother-in-law, to be kind to his concubines, and to take care of the inner house, without quarrels, or complaints. His mother, his official position, his reputation, are all above me, and I am just a decent stone statue he needs to be placed in the inner house. I've done enough. The next day, Wang Mion went on a mission, and my mother-in-law called me to go over and ask for forgiveness. She knew that Wang Mion borrowed money to buy yesterday's return ceremony, and she was furious and scolded me for being a wife and unvirtuous, which made my husband lose face. I don't understand. Their Wang family has always been so poor that everyone knows everywhere. When will they have face? But my mother-in-law won't care. She thinks that when I get married, I should rush to sew and mend for her family and her Tanhua son, and be sure to make the Wang family glamorous. Otherwise, what use is it? These are the original words she said in her previous life. Her nature has not changed in this life, and she said it again. The only difference is that this time I listened with a smile. She sat cross-legged on the couch and pointed at me and said, "You are also a girl from a big family, and you don't even know this truth. Let me teach you. The husband is the wife. Your husband has lost face. What face do you have?" I waved my handkerchief and said indifferently, "It was my husband who said that he would find a way, and he disliked the piece of tofu prepared by his mother because it was not good looking, so he had to prepare it again." The mother also said that the husband is the wife, and the husband wants to buy it again, and the daughter-in-law has no choice. My mother-in-law choked me and said angrily, You. I'm going to let you, it yourself." Let me myself what? She didn't have the face to say it. She stopped talking in time, was choked by me, gulped down a sip of tea, and glanced at me. My face remained unchanged, pretending to be innocent. The mother-in-law restrained her expression and suddenly said, "Forget about this. If there is such a thing in the future, you have to remember to share the worries for your husband." I said yes. "You've been married for 3 days. My wife is not in good health, so you can serve me today." It's this trick again. It's really easy for a mother-in-law to pinch her daughter-in-law. Let her pinch her legs when she is asleep, let her serve tea when she is awake, let her eat and let her cook, and let her walk with her hands, just a little bit like this. You can grind people to death without much effort. This trick kills people without blood, and it can also make you have no way to beg. You say she is mean. She says you are unfilial and disobedient. Can you say her? In my previous life, I told Wang Mion, and Wang Mion said that I was squeamish and said that my mother was old, and I, as a daughter-in-law, should serve more. He couldn't see my grievances. I told my mother, and my mother said it was all a trivial matter. The main thing is to grab your husband's heart and have a child. Child, I was tied to my waistband by my mother-in-law day and night. Where would there be children? I slept on the couch in front of her bed for 3 years and couldn't conceive a child, and she turned her head and said that I had no children for 3 years and wanted to take a concubine for Wang Mion. I cried all night about this. And the next day I still had to wipe away my tears and go to Wang Mion to handle it like a normal person. I have been a virtuous person all my life, and I have gained a good reputation, but this good reputation has bound me for the rest of my life. And I have had enough. Since she asked me to serve, I served obediently and skillfully. I didn't even drink saliva that day. Seeing that I was working hard, Adu took advantage of my mother-in-law's sleep and hurriedly wanted to give me water. But I refused. What do you drink water? You have to have a dry mouth and pale lips to look good. So when it was evening, the servant reported back that the young master was back. I loosened the bowl of soup, happened to smash a table of dishes, and finally fainted. B1001 B1001. I fainted and I was sick. Since I am sick, I will not get better in the short term. This trick is loved by mothers-in-law. She got sick at every turn in her previous life, so I had to take care of her day and night, and now that feng shui takes turns. It's time for me to get sick. I have been sick for half a month, and I don't know what the rumors are like, but I don't think it will be good. I, a bride, was so tired that she fainted only 3 days after passing through the door. I raised my face rosy in bed, but Wang Mion's face became worse and worse. He naturally knew the cause and effect, so he could still tolerate me for the first day or two, and he didn't mean to get better after half a month. On this day, he stood at my bedside and asked me expressionlessly, "When does Madam want to be sick?" I said, "Husband, how long do you think I should be sick?" Wang Mion couldn't bear it anymore. "Serving your in-laws is your duty as a daughter-in-law." "My duty. Also, this is Wang Mion's consistent idea." I said, "Father is kind and filial, my husband has read books, and he should know how to understand this sentence." Wang Mion was stunned for a moment, then lowered his eyebrows and said for a while, "So that's what you think?" I smiled coldly and didn't answer him. Wang Mion whispered, "Do you have to do this?" I held my forehead and said, "Husband, my body hurts again." Wang Mion turned around and left. Wang Mion wants to pinch me. It is nothing more than airs and favor, and he wants to force me to bow his head. And the way is not to come to my house. Very good. Only 3 or 5 days after getting married, he just put me in the face like this. The servants looked at the dishes and saw that I was not favored. And even the food they gave me was downgraded. Adu dared to be angry and dare not speak, secretly looking at me. I laughed. "What are you looking at me for? Throw it away." "Hey." Adu didn't dare to disobey me, and hurriedly took out the things out. I got up and wanted to go out, but I thought that I was still sick and couldn't go out, so I asked Adu to come back. "Don't throw things away. Go call me a doctor and say that I have a headache and illness again. Adu should be good." The doctor came quickly, and I was picking up the rice particles in the white porridge with chopsticks. The doctor said, "Madam is still a little weak." He looked at the white porridge in my hand and said, "Eat something good." I said, "The doctor is right, but the family is difficult, and my mother-in-law has to live frugally." "Doctor, Lord Wang is an upstart in the imperial court. How can he?" "Hey." I made an unspeakable gesture, and the point stopped. "Look, when it comes to calculations, it's not that I don't have brains, it's just that I was too good before. I refused to use it, and I couldn't use it. I always feel that I exchange sincerity for sincerity, but I don't know that if sincerity is sold cheaply, it will be like dung." I invited a doctor, and Wang Mion got the news and came. He entered the house, and it happened that the doctor was leaving, and the doctor stopped and directly told Wang Mion that his wife was weak and should eat more carefully. I took a sip of white porridge and almost laughed out loud. This doctor is very kind. Wang Mion didn't know why, and when the doctor left, he saw the white porridge in my hand, and the muscles on the side of my face were obviously tense. I laughed. "Why is my husband here?" Wang Mion's eyes were like knives. "Do you have to be like this?" I put down the bowl, wiped my mouth with a handkerchief, and said that I had a headache and was about to lie down. Wang Mion suddenly stepped forward and grabbed my wrist. This is really unexpected. Wang Mion has always been a gentleman and rarely gaffes, and I have spent 20 years with him in my previous life, and I have never seen him so angry. In this life, I think I am still young, and the young Tanhualang is not cultivated enough, and he will explode when he flirts. Seriously, I'm not afraid at all. I wish he would strangle me directly. So I leaned my neck up, put my nails on my neck, scraped hard, and shouted, "Adu, you." When Adu entered the house and saw blood on my neck, he immediately screamed. Of course Wang Mion did not expect me to self-harm, staring at me viciously, frightened and angry. I cried, "Adu, come and save me." Adu was very afraid of Wang Mion, but when I was injured, she immediately became angry and rushed up to push Wang Mion. "Let go of my girl." Wang Mion was pushed back, pointed at me and said, "Qin, you." Even Bai Niang didn't call her anymore. She was called Qin. I was held in my arms, my eyes peeked out of the handkerchief, and I winked at him. Wang Mion, B1001 B1001. In a confrontation with Wang Mion fled and did not dare to recruit me again. But I think the price is still a bit high, and I have a long hole in my neck. Probably Wang Mion was also afraid of me, and the food was restored as before, and there was no movement from my mother-in-law. I lay down for so long, and my body was sore, so I got up normally on this day. This disease cannot be sick all the time, and the next time you need to get sick. When I heard that I was better, my mother-in-law immediately called me over. I'm a good daughter-in-law and I'm on call, so I went. So I saw Bai He. Bai He was Wang Mion's concubine and gave birth to the only son for Wang Mion, which can be described as a standout in the Wang family's mansion. But in my last life, she only entered the door 3 years after I got married, and now I can't think of it so early. I smiled sweetly and stepped forward to say hello to my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law couldn't even look at me with her eyes, and asked me coldly if I was feeling better. I wiped my temples and said, "I'm still a little dizzy." The mother-in-law said, "Since you are not in good health, I will find you a helper. This is He Niang, and I will stay in the house in the future to help you take care of Miona together." I didn't say good, I didn't say bad. My mother-in-law winked at Bai He. And Bai He hurriedly stepped forward to say hello to me. "Sister." I raised my hand to interrupt her, sat down peacefully in my chair, and smiled at her. "Don't call me sister. Call madam," I said. "You are the one who takes care of your husband. I am also the one who takes care of your husband, in the future. I live in the east side, you live in the west. You don't have to come and go. You don't have to say hello when you meet. We are the same. Don't have a sister and sister's friendship, White Lotus." I don't bother to care what she thinks. I was magnanimous enough in my previous life, taking care of my husband, taking care of my husband's concubines, and taking care of my children. I took care of a large family, and I took care of enough. In the future, no one wants me to worry a little. I was so safe and didn't make trouble. Probably my mother-in-law didn't expect it, and asked someone to bring me a bowl of soup in the evening, and asked Cherry to tell me that she did a good job today. Bai He entered the house. I expected Wang Mion to be extremely happy. He is a literati who loves red sleeves and adds fragrance, and he likes to play with the literati the most. At that time, Bai He's handwriting was also taught by him personally, and now that he has enjoyed the blessings of Chi people so early, he should be happy to roll in the bed. But this time I guessed wrong. Wang Mion rushed into my room at night and asked me what I meant. I looked confused. "What do you mean? I just said a few words to you, and you immediately found me a concubine. Do you want everyone to think that I am unkind and unjust, and I am a hungry ghost in sex?" Qin Feng Bai. Don't go too far. Can you still think like this? I suddenly felt that Wang Mion had provided me with a good idea. In my last life, 3 years later, I had no children, so it was natural for Wang Mion to take a concubine. But in this life I was a bride, and Wang Mion took a concubine in an instant, which was a slap in the face of my Qin family. But what does that have to do with me? I let Bai He enter the house, because I was too lazy to care about their Wang families. But if I could let Wang Mion be deflated by the way, it would be the best. If my husband doesn't like it, I will withdraw him, and I will find another person for my husband. I say. Wang Mion's anger skyrocketed, but he learned my methods. But he didn't dare to confront me at will, and suddenly said, "Step back." Adu refused to retreat. Wang Mion rushed at me. "Let them step back. Forget it, forget it." I waved my hand and motioned for everyone to go out. Wang Mian lifted his clothes and sat down. If you have something to say, you don't go to the concubine you just married, and you will spend money in vain. Wang Mian, he patiently closed his eyes, and then asked me, Madam, where did I do something that dissatisfied you to make you do this to me? No, not in this life. Then why are you so different from before? Before, Wang Mian probably said that before getting married, when we met for the first time, I was gentle and polite to him. I never understand. Why are you like this? You and I are both. This marriage, I don't know what you think about this marriage. I interrupted him and said coldly, as for me, what master can I do? Wang Mian looked at me in shock. I suddenly stood up. If my husband is okay, let's go, I'm tired. Wang reluctantly remained motionless, and said after a while, so you don't want to marry? The tone was no longer surprised, even unbelievable, and like a dream. All I had left was a contemptuous laugh. My marriage, how could I be the master of my own marriage? B1001 B1001. Wang Mian did not accept Bai, but only asked her to be a sweeper in the study. My mother-in-law had a lot of subtleties about this, and she knocked on the side to see if I was making trouble in the middle. I said, the cow doesn't drink water and presses her head. The mother-in-law has the ability to persuade her husband to drink, and I, a daughter-in-law, am incompetent and can't interfere with my husband's decision. Why can't you interfere? The mother-in-law said, didn't Miona come to your room yesterday? Didn't you tell him something? I said, since my mother-in-law asked like this, then I want to ask first, did my mother-in-law take a concubine for her husband? Didn't she communicate with him in advance? Ping Bai asked him to lose his temper in my room, saying that I deliberately harmed him. Naturally, she didn't discuss it with Wang Mian, and because of this, the mother and son heard about it and quarreled a few words, and now I poked her sore spot, and my mother-in-law immediately jumped over the wall. It's not that you're not virtuous. If you hadn't been angry with Miona all day long, let him become a kiss and be like a bachelor. Why should I worry about this? You don't reflect on it. You even talk back to me. She and I are now torn apart. So it doesn't matter if we talk around the corner in our previous life, I said expressionlessly. If my mother-in-law is entangled with me like this, my daughter-in-law will faint. The mother-in-law was stunned. I leaned back in my chair comfortably and continued. My mother-in-law said that I am not virtuous. I am a filial daughter-in-law, and I dare not refute my mother-in-law's words. But I was born in a family of officials, and my family has been farming and studying for generations. And I know etiquette and wisdom best, and I have also been virtuous and beautiful since I was a child, even the lady in the palace, and I have never made a mistake in my interviews. I married into the Wang family, with 36 dowries. Inside, I made up for the foreign debts owed by the Wang family before, and outside, my father supported my husband and helped him a lot in his career. I don't know what my mother-in-law thinks, but in the capital, my situation is called low marriage. I've wanted to say this for a long time. My lifelong upbringing, learning to embroider and compose poetry before getting married, did not bring me glory and praise, but became the reason for her to practice me. You need me, you look down on me, you are afraid of me, and you want to control me. Why? My face was cold and hard. My mother-in-law was probably frightened. She didn't speak for a long time, pointed at me, and suddenly broke out, you talk nonsense. She was like an angry tiger, looking left and right, touching a pillow from the couch and smashing at me. You bitch with a mouthful of nonsense. I let you talk nonsense. My son is a new science Tanhua. How many people dream of marrying into my Wang family, who rarely wants you to marry low? Who do you think you are? I dodged the things she threw over one after another. I really didn't expect the word low marriage to make her so angry, and it really hurt her self-esteem. This problem of beating when angry is the same as mother and son. When she saw me dodging, she was even more furious, and she got up from the couch and pounced on me, but fortunately she was hugged by Cherry. Old lady, calm down. I retreated to the door, thinking that it would be better to hide for a while. B1001 B1001. This farce naturally provoked Wang Mian. In his heart, if anyone can surpass his career, it is his mother. I heard that my mother-in-law was so angry that she fell ill. And she cried on the bed and wiped her tears, saying that the family had married a Rakshasa and wanted to divorce me. Adu also felt that the matter was big, and he trembled and didn't dare to speak all day. I sat peacefully in the room embroidering a flower, waiting for Wang Mian to come to me to settle the score. But unfortunately, I miscalculated again. What I was waiting for was Wang Mian, who accepted the White Lotus. He raised her as a noble concubine and handed over the housekeeper to her. It feels like the mistress is useless. Hurry up and practice a substitute to save the game. He was really brushed by me. In his previous life, he was scrupulous about my face and status, and the feeding in the house was in my hands from beginning to end, and now he wants to completely cool me down. He was also very competitive, learning to be a housekeeper and also learning to read, and quickly picked up this burden. It is said that villains are rampant when they are successful, and this is not false at all. When we first met, he respectfully called me sister, and now, it is a lady of the East Room. Among the servants, she claimed to be the lady of the West Room and sat on an equal footing with me. I heard it without any waves. But Adu was aggrieved and wanted to go back and tell my parents. I laughed at her stupidity. What if my parents know about my situation? Since I got married, the Wang family's affairs have been in the ears of many people, and I don't know how many people's ears have spread to the ears of the rumors. Living in the capital together, my mother has really not heard of it. It's just that the eldest sister's marriage is more important. After all, it's their own marriage, each cultivating immortality. She wanted me to cross myself, but I didn't know that I didn't have that ability, let alone that desire. On the day my eldest sister got married, I went back, but Wang Mian did not come with me. My mother was extremely dissatisfied with me because of this, and after marrying my sister, she left me alone. Bai Niang, what's the hell is going on with you? I asked casually. What's going on? Pretend to be stupid for me. What's going on with that concubine in your family? My mother said. I have heard that the concubine is now in charge of the house, and the servants call her madam to the outside world. I was funny. They are the royal family spoiling their concubines and destroying their wives, and my mother doesn't give me justice, but she comes to ask me about my fault. What's wrong with me? It's not that you don't live up to it, my mother said. My aunt's family is very poor. You marry over, with a rich dowry, and you have been well educated since you were a child. As long as you are willing to serve your mother-in-law well and take care of the inner courtyard, how can your uncle not be grateful to you and treat you well, but instead leave you with morality? Okay, anyway, it's all mine. I have turned a blind eye to the grievances of my life. And even my mother feels that my life in my previous life was really smooth and happy. Even if there is a lack of childlessness in my life, it is my own belly that is not up to the task. It's like this in this life. I don't want to listen to her lesson anymore. I believed these words in my previous life, only I know their ups and downs, and no one else has ever asked me about my warmth and coldness. I got up and said lightly, there is still something at home, if my mother has nothing else. My daughter will leave first. Stop. My mother scolded me and told me if I knew that Wang Mian was now quite favored and had been arranged by His Majesty to give a lecture to the prince. Oh. I said, why did I suddenly think of me? It turned out that Wang Mian was promoted, the tree planted by my Qin family can finally bloom, and I think of my fertilization nutrient, B1001 B1001, I left home and walked alone on the street without anyone following me. Beijing is still lively, but to me it is like a different world. My sleeve was suddenly pulled, and I looked back and saw that it was my third brother, second sister. He called me. I smiled and asked him why he was here. He glanced at me and suddenly said, second sister, there is something wrong with my mother. You have to be more responsible. If the second sister really can't live in the Wang family in the future, the younger brother will take care of the second sister. I raised my brows in surprise. After the third brother finished speaking, he nodded to me and quickly turned around and left. I watched him leave, and suddenly my eyes were hot. I don't know that there are people in this family who have seen my difficulties and are willing to bear my hard work, but it's too late. This small comfort can't fill the desolation of my life. When I returned to Wang's house, a doctor came in. He is pregnant. Oh, it's really gratifying. Look, I finally lived this life as a previous life, just as boring and helpless. At night, Wang Mion came to my house, and I said, "My husband has a happy day today, such a good day. Why don't you accompany your concubine? Well, why come to me?" Wang Mion said, "I didn't deliberately refuse to go to your eldest sister's marriage today, but your majesty is looking for me for something, and I can't leave. State affairs are important, and family affairs are nothing." I waved my hand indifferently. "Don't worry, my husband is now in a strong family, and it's too late for my parents to flatter you, so I don't blame you." "What about you?" Wang Mion asked suddenly. I was stunned. "Do you blame me?" He looked at me with bright eyes in the candlelight, as if he wanted to see through my soul. I looked away, sighed, and said, "My husband is now proud of the spring breeze, and his business and family affairs are blooming on both sides." Wang Mion said, "You are my wife and the mistress of my Wang family, so I naturally value your opinion. The wife is a symbol, and the mistress is not indispensable, if the husband has other ideas. I am willing to give up this son." "By Niang," Wang Mion interrupted me. "What do you want? What do you want?" He always thought I wanted to do something, but in fact I just wanted to die. "I don't want to live with him anymore at all." Wang Mion said, "Don't worry, no one will take your place. And when the child is born, I will foster the child in your name and recognize you as a mother." Wang Mion must have thought that he was very wise in this way. And he waited for me to be grateful to Dade, but he didn't know. I wasn't surprised at all. I begged in my previous life, saying that I had no children under my knees and wanted to bring the child of Bai He to raise. Wang Mion didn't agree. He said that I was not in good health, so I should not work too hard. Just take good care of the family. The child is a tiring job. Let Bai He handle it himself. It sounds like it's for my own good. But I know that it was Bai He who begged him not to separate their mother and son. His concubine, his son, is the person closest to him, and I am just an emotionless wife, the face of the Wang family. What I couldn't ask for in my previous life, I don't want it for nothing in this life. So I glanced at him, grabbed the comb at hand, threw it directly on his head, and told him, "Get out, you." Wang Mion covered his head and suddenly got up and glared at me. "Get out," I shouted. "Who despises your arms? Who do you think you are? Is it my master or my god? Throw me a bone, I should get out and kowtow to you. Be your big dream." I didn't have a son in my previous life, and I don't care about heirs in this life. I wish I could cut off my sons and grandchildren, so that the Wang family would have no legitimate son. Yes, that's how I hate it. I thought my emotions had long been worn away. But Wang Mion could always accurately stab my pain. I hate him for turning a blind eye, for his selfishness, and for his hypocrisy. I hate him. B1001 B1001. I smashed Wang Mion's head. My mother-in-law didn't come to me, but Bai He came first. She held her belly, which couldn't be seen as pregnant, stood at my door, and saluted me politely, saying that her husband told her about the child, and she was willing, and when the child was born, she would bring it to me. I don't want to. White Lotus, I got up. You don't need me to test you. I don't care about your children, and I'm not interested in raising children for others. But my husband, you listen to him so much, he wants you to die. Will you die? White Lotus, get out. Bai He almost left my yard crying. At least that's what Adu said. She said that Bai was too good at acting, and when others asked her if she was scolded by her wife, she just cried and didn't say anything. Others guessed right. "I just scolded her," Adu said. "That's why she came to provoke you first." "Madam, but how can others care about this? I used to be burdened by people's words, and now I am the least afraid of people's words." Adu frowned, worrying about how to live in the future. I didn't speak. The moment I opened my eyes again, I said that I didn't want to live anymore, and this thought never changed. At night, I sent Adu away, changed into new clothes, looked at the still young face in the mirror, and smiled softly. I don't know which bodhisattva didn't have long eyes and gave me a new life, but I'm afraid I will live up to this kindness. I wrapped the white silk around the beam and stepped on the stool. I'm actually a little afraid of pain, but compared to this desperate life that is out of sight, it doesn't hurt to hurt this time. Bai He always thinks she can plot against me, but if I die, I don't know if she will be scared to death. Where is Wang Mion? The concubine's room forced his wife to death, and the saliva of the censor was afraid that he would drown him. This deal is not a loss. I kicked the stool fell to the ground, and his consciousness began to blur, as if even his soul had drifted away. In a trance, I heard the door being kicked open. I heard Adu screaming in horror. I heard Wang Mion shouting my name. I was put down, and someone pinched my nose. Qin Feng Bai. Wang Mion's voice seemed to float from a long distance. You dare to die. Do you think you're done when you die? I've never heard him speak in such a crazy tone, like a mantra. I tell you, don't think about it. You are not allowed to die. The sound gradually faded away, and the soul was sucked into the huge black hole, and in front of the black hole, there was chaos. B1001 B1001. When I opened my eyes again, the moonlight above my head was like a star, and there were two figures printed on the window. Girl, someone called me. I turned my head to look and found that it was Adu, and when Adu saw that I was not speaking, he asked worriedly, "What's wrong with the girl?" I opened my mouth and asked her where we were. Naturally, it's in the Wang family, Adu said. What's wrong with the girl? Today is the girl's happy day. Ah, on my big day. I looked down, and I was really dressed in joy. Where is Wang Mion? I asked again. Adu pouted and signaled to the room. The mother's kindness and filial piety printed on the window turned out to be the two of them. So, am I alive again? It's weird, but I'm not in the mood to think about it. I immediately turned around, and Adu asked me what was wrong, and I said, "Go back, who wants to talk nonsense about that Ryoshizi here?" I walked quickly, and in 2 or 3 steps I went back to my house, sent Adu away, and I sat quietly in the house alone. Alive? Why? I can't figure it out, but I'm too lazy to bother with it. Since I couldn't figure it out, I didn't want to, so I asked Adu to call Wang Mion back. Adu was embarrassed. I'm afraid my uncle won't want to. Right, I sneered. If he doesn't come back, I'll pack up and go home immediately. Adu was frightened by my angry look, and hurriedly turned his head and ran away. Sure enough, threats are more effective than kind words. But after a cup of tea, Wang Mion came back. What's wrong? He sat down across from me, not very happy. My son looked at him carefully, and no matter how he looked at it, he didn't understand why God made such a joke and wanted me to live with this person for 3 lifetimes. Wang Mion thought I was going to settle accounts with him about the wedding night, but I didn't expect that. I just looked at him, and for a moment inexplicable, I asked again, "What's wrong with you?" I suddenly didn't want to ask him. Wang Mion can be an official and prosperous, ranking among the prime ministers. Naturally he is not a stupid person. I am so scheming to ask him. Maybe he will be overwhelmed. I have to save myself. Yes, I suddenly didn't want to die. I died twice, but only 3, and this time I want to live well. B1001 B1001. If you live well, you will naturally leave the Wang family, but Wang Mion will not agree to reconcile with me. He still has to rely on my Qin family now, unless a noble lady of higher status is willing to marry him. He is bound to let me continue to be a cow and a horse for him. I think I don't have the ability to find another good marriage for him, but the noble daughter is not successful, and there is a white lotus. Yes, white lotus. This Wang Mion's good concubine is really the biological mother of his beloved son. Wang Mion likes his son so much. Naturally he can't do without his mother. I'm going to find Bai He. The girl is going out, Adu asked me. I nodded and asked her to get me clothes. But Adu said that the old lady was still waiting for the girl to say hello. I was stunned, but I forgot about this stubble. Should I obediently go to ask for peace as before, or ignore it? Where is Wang Mion? I asked. My aunt couldn't wait for the girl to get up, so he went to the old lady first. Okay. It's not waiting for me again, but I don't plan to go either. I went straight out of the door of the Wang family. Bai He was a former neighbor of the Wang family. And I asked a few people along the way, and soon found by his residence. Her parents died early, and she lived with her brother and sister-in-law, but now she is not married and works as a helper at home. Tut, who would have thought that Aunt Bai, who was in the Wang family in her previous life, is now like an old servant at home. When I arrived, she was washing by the stream, sweating, bending over and wading through the water. So hard. Adu asked me why I was here. And I shook my head and didn't say anything. I went to the Bai family's yard, in the name of the Wang family. I told Bai his brother and sister-in-law that I would take Bai He as a concubine. Her brother and sister-in-law are honest people, and they don't dare to say no to me, nor do they dare to say yes, but they ask me. Who did the lady say she was asking for? Tan Hualang, Wang Mian, I say. Bai his sister-in-law heard this, but the old lady of the Wang family said that let Bai He enter the house a few years later. Why is it so early now, and it's you, madam, personally at the door? Oh, I see. It turned out that it had been arranged, but I am not disappointed. Disappointment takes a lot of effort, but I no longer have the extra energy to waste the slightest bit for Wang Mian. I said, I'm not feeling well, so I won't buy her to come in early. Then, I dropped 100 taels of silver, saying that as a bride price, I would send someone to pick up Bai He 3 days later. Bai's sister-in-law happily agreed. B1001 B1001, when I returned to Wang's house, my mother-in-law was waiting for me in the hall, waiting to ask me for forgiveness. I sat calmly under her, and when she saw that I was ignoring her, she was furious and scolded. Kneel down, I stroked my sideburns and said, tell my mother-in-law to calm her anger. In fact, the reason why my daughter-in-law asked for peace in the future was purely because there was an important delay. What do you want to do to run out on the first day of marriage? My mother-in-law yelled at me. It seems that I really annoyed her, and for the first time in my life, she tore off all the decent disguises. It's okay, so that we don't have to be inconsistent with each other and act uncomfortable, I said. This matter is about my husband. I had a dream yesterday, and there was an immortal in the dream who entrusted me with a dream, saying that my husband's career must be supported by noble people. I asked the immortal who the nobleman was. The immortal said it was a girl, and I asked who the girl was, and the immortal showed me the way and asked me to find it. Speaking of this, I smiled slightly and continued, so early in the morning, my daughter-in-law couldn't wait to look for someone. My mother-in-law was stunned by what I said, and asked me half-convincedly, found it? I nodded, looking happy. The immortal really didn't lie to me. This White Lotus girl really has purple energy between her eyebrows, as the immortal said, and she also looks rich. She is really a noble person. The mother-in-law was startled and asked, who are you talking about? It's the neighbor before the Wang family, the White Lotus girl from the Bai family. My mother-in-law lowered her head and thought. I don't know what she was thinking, but even if she wanted to break her head, she couldn't think of why I found Bai He. As for purple chi and noble people, I am cold. I say she has purple chi. She has it. I say she is a noble person. She is my noble person. I want to bring Bai He into the house, which doesn't seem to be a bad thing, and my mother-in-law soon stopped talking. I said that I had given a betrothal gift and welcomed her into the door 3 days later. The mother-in-law asked, should I tell Miona? I nodded. Naturally. I naturally have to tell my husband about these things. But will Wang Mian be happy? I'm afraid not. Sure enough, when he heard about my decision at night, he just looked at me calmly. I asked, husband is not satisfied. Wang Mian lowered his eyebrows and asked, Madam really dreamed of an immortal? I laughed. Naturally. Wang Mian also believed in the words of ghosts and gods. Sure enough, he pondered for a long time, and then said, in that case, madam, do as you please. I nodded in agreement. Then he got up and walked to the bed, looked back at me. It's getting late. Madam, go to bed early. I sat still and said, I'm not feeling well today, and I'm going to trouble my husband to move to the study. Wang Mian squinted. He will naturally doubt it, but why should I be afraid of his doubts? I have to leave sooner or later, and Wang Mian can't keep me. B1001 B1001, 3 days later, Bai He entered the door, and I arranged a small courtyard for her and hired a gentleman to teach her a story. I told her that her husband likes girls with literary talent and asked her to study hard. Bai He was still a little cramped, and replied in a low voice, yes, I don't doubt her intelligence, and I know that she will definitely work hard, and now, I just need to wait for her to be reborn and firmly cling to Wang Mian. After settling in by her, I went to find my third brother. Thanks to a word in my previous life, I know that my parents don't feel sorry for me. My third brother is still reliable. If I want to get out of trouble, isn't it better to ask him than to ask my mother? The third brother was studying at the academy, and when I arrived, he was following a group of classmates to lunch. And he was very surprised to see me standing at the door with a food box. Second sister. He ran to me. "Why are you here? Come and see you," I said. "I also brought you food." Although the third brother was puzzled by my arrival, he was happy in the end. And I asked someone to put the food box under the tree and let him sit down to eat. The third brother asked me, "Why didn't the second sister come back when she went back? The Wang family has a lot of things. So let's make up for it when we have time." The third brother sighed when he heard this, and he said, "Second sister, if you have any difficulties, remember to tell me. Look, I really didn't choose the wrong person. The Qin family regards me as a bargaining chip, and my younger brother is always good," I said. "Feng Mo, I want to reconcile." After I finished speaking, the third brother spat out a bite of rice, pounding his chest and coughing violently. I waited quietly for him to calm down. After a long time, Feng Mo looked up at me, and I also looked back at him. I didn't have a single prayer, I didn't shed tears, I just looked at him quietly. "Second sister." I stroked the folds of my cuffs. "It's okay, if you don't want to help me, it doesn't matter, Feng Mo." I got up. "In that case, then I'll leave, and you will pretend I haven't been here." Just as he was about to turn around, he was pulled by his sleeve by the third brother. I didn't look back. After a long time, I heard Feng Mo say, "Second sister, I'll help you." I slowly curled up the corners of my mouth. Yes, I know, he will definitely help me. B1001 B1001. I put away my smile and was about to turn back, but I saw a person standing at the door of his academy. The man was facing me, obviously taking in my expression just now, rolling up his sleeves, leaning against the door unruly, looking at me with interest. I frowned. Feng Mo seemed to be aware, looked back, and said happily, "Brother Luo." He turned back to me and said, "Second sister, this is my classmate and friend, Luo Wanqi." The Luo family is not an official, but a merchant, a big merchant in this dynasty. 6 out of 10 shops in the capital are the property of the Luo family. I greeted Luo Wanqi coldly and nodded to Feng Mo. "Then I'll go." Feng Mo said yes, and then took a step closer and said, "Second sister, I will find a way. You can wait for my news with peace of mind." I hummed. With Feng Mo's assurance, even if there are episodes like Luo Wanqi, it will not hinder my good mood. When I returned to Wang's house, I first sent the gifts I bought to my mother-in-law, blocked her mouth, and then went to see Bai He. And I was deeply relieved to see her gnawing on books in an orderly manner. It wasn't until this moment that I felt that there was hope in life. I was doing such actions behind my back. Wang Mian was naturally aware of it, but now others are light-hearted, and they have to climb his wealth ladder first. What does the husband want to say? I played with the handkerchief impatiently and asked him. Wang Mian lowered his head and groped for the teacup, which was his habit as a great minister. I looked away. I had long felt abnormal. Sure enough, Wang Mian also came back, although he disguised himself very well. He couldn't change his habits for 20 years. If you look closely, you will see through it. The candle burned quietly. Wang Mian looked up at me and said, "Madam, I have now begun to lecture for the prince." I sighed. "It's so fast." "That's right. After all, 2 lifetimes of experience. 10 years of road, 10 days to complete. Nothing strange. Then congratulations to my husband on his success." I say, seeing that I didn't care. Wang Mian seemed to feel very humiliated. His eyes locked on me and asked me, "What do you want?" I looked up at him. Wang Mian asked again, "Bai Niang, what do you want?" He and I are both ghosts in human skin. We know it very well, but I thought he would never tell me. But I didn't expect him to have a showdown with me so soon. I ask myself, it's a lot of courtesy to you. You don't go to greet your mother, you don't take care of the inner house, and you won't let me go back to the bedroom. I don't care about you. I think that even if there is a great sin, it should be redeemed, even if you don't like Bai He. This time I plan not to accept it. It's you, and I recruited her back, but you're still not satisfied. What the hell do you want? Look, the eloquence of the Prime Minister can always reverse black and white. He knows what I have been through, and now, he wants to forget his past life and be a loving couple with me. He regards me as his subordinate, and he wants whatever he wants. But who did he think he was? I looked at him, not dodging, and said word by word, I want to reconcile. Wang Mion, I want to leave. Wang Mion was angry. He was angry. But I wanted to laugh. I said, you ask me. And I answered, this answer is not to the Prime Minister's wishes. Qin Feng Bai. He called my name in a stern voice. It was this name, and when it came out of his mouth, it was a sentence that I didn't want to answer. B1001 B1001, I have no patience. Getting up. His sleeves angrily brushed the table, and the teacup shattered to the ground. I stared at him firmly and spoke, if you can't do without peace, then you will die. But does Wang Mion dare? His cheeks bulged, and after a long time, he let go of his clenched hand, returned to an indifferent appearance, and said, Bai Niang, let me tell you, I am now lecturing for the prince. I nodded indifferently. He said, it's worth showing off again and again. Wang Mion smiled. It seems that you didn't understand. I really didn't understand, and I looked at him puzzled. Wang Mion, I am now lecturing for the prince, and your majesty values it. Your Qin family and your father treat me with great courtesy, and they dare not break off this relationship with me. I see. So you are waiting for me here. I should have been mentally prepared, but I still felt angry. I grinded my teeth to endure this anger, and finally it broke out. I grabbed the only teapot left on the table and smashed it at him. Syllable. The teapot fell to the ground and fell to pieces. Wang Mion avoided it sideways, brushed off the tea stains on his clothes, and then said, Bai Niang, you have to keep to yourself. My patience is limited, and I will not always condone you. Get out. I smashed the ornaments all over the house. After anger, there is excessive calm. I sat in the rubble on the ground, thinking. He and I have become bitter couples in this life, and we must never shake hands and make peace again. I don't want to work hard for his Wang family anymore, let alone be trapped in his royal family's house. God gave me a new life. I will not be a puppet again. Let Wang Mion poke and rub it into the shape he wants. After all, I am a living person. He used the Qin family to pinch me, expecting that the Qin family would not dare to break off relations with him for me. But he didn't know that I dared to break off relations with the Qin family. The kindness of my parents and the deep love of sisters, I have paid it back. Now that we have reached the point of exhaustion, neither he nor I will pretend anymore. I quickly trained Bai He out, took another box of jewelry to my mother-in-law, and told her that she was unwell and wanted to move out to recuperate. My mother-in-law doesn't dare to stop me now, let alone buy money, and she doesn't want to stop me. Feng Mo quickly brought me the news. He rented a small courtyard for me and hired a nursing home to keep me safe. On the same day, I left a letter of resignation and moved out of the Wang family. That night, Wang Mion went to the door of the Qin mansion, but Feng Mo had already made arrangements, only saying that I had not returned home, and when he learned that I had been lost from Wang's house, he clamored for Wang Mion to compensate others. Wang Mion was unable to parry, so he had to flee. Feng Mo told me the news and said with a smile, second sister, the second brother-in-law is embarrassed. I just smiled faintly. Wang Mion is always very conceited. He will not take it easily. My parents will know sooner or later. Seeing my silence, Feng Mo said, second sister, don't worry. I have hired a very powerful guard. Even if my parents come, I can't take you away casually. I admit that my strategy is not clever, but as long as there is a 10% chance of winning, it is worth a gamble. B1001 B1001. Later I learned that the yard Feng Mo found for me was the property of the Luo family, and the guards were also the guards of the Luo family. I remembered Luo Wunch's smiling appearance and asked him why he had to find the Luo family. Brother Luo is rich and willing to help, Feng Mo said. I really have nothing to say. I live in the yard of the Luo family. Luo Wunchi lives next door to me. He met me at the door, and he bowed to me with a smile and said, hello, Miss Qin. He doesn't call me Mrs. Wang. I don't bother to pay attention to him. Miss Qin should stay, he said behind me. The people of the Qin family are looking for you all over the city now, and if you go out like this, you will be in the tiger's mouth. I stopped to understand why Feng Mo didn't come today. I turned around and went back to the small courtyard. And Luo Wunchi came uninvited. Adu was about to close the door, and he pressed against the door and said, Don't you invite me in and sit down. I looked back at him, and then motioned to Adu to let him in. Why are you pestering me? I asked. Luo Wanchi was stunned for a moment. As if he didn't expect me to be so straightforward, I said coldly, don't say you didn't pester me. If a person like me who has gone through 2 lifetimes doesn't wear his tricks, it's really in vain. Luo Wanchi scratched his head awkwardly and asked me, you want to divorce your husband? I don't think it's surprising that he knows this. Since Feng Mo is looking for his help, he will naturally tell him everything. Aren't you just married? I glanced at him and said, does young Master Luo know that this woman with a long tongue is annoying, and a man with a long tongue is even more annoying? Luo Wanchi held back for a while and said, why are you so unkind? Yes, why am I so unkind? But in my previous life, I was also a good woman praised by everyone. But being a good wife could not get a good death, so I didn't want to do it. What the hell do you want to do? I asked him. Luo Wanchi said, I can actually help you. I looked at him, and Luo Wanchi smiled, don't doubt it. I really have no other purpose. I just think, well, you need help. B1001 B1001. Luo Wanchi felt that I needed help, and he was happy to be this good person. I know he has other purposes. But I don't care at the moment, so I asked him to find a medicine for me. Is it useful? I asked. 100 shots and 100 hits. Luo Wanchi said, someone around me has tried it, and after eating it, I got pregnant quickly. That's good, I said. Then trouble young Master Luo to send the medicine out for me. I need Bai He to get pregnant as soon as possible. For Wang Mian, he takes a fancy to the family inheritance, and in his previous life, Bai He and his children were smart and diligent. Which was his favorite. In this life, only his son will be his weakness, Rowan promised. After delivering the medicine, he brought me the latest news, saying that Wang Mian and the Qin family went to the government to report their disappearance. But don't worry, Feng Mo secretly went to the government to withdraw the file, saying that he made a mistake. I hummed and said I understood. Luo Wanchi glanced at me and asked, let me ask you, what would you do if Wang Mian found you? What to do? I hooked my lips. I'm about to die. Luo Wanchi thought I was joking, but when he looked at me, he saw that I was not joking at all, and said for a long time, so you don't want to marry him? I waved my fan and didn't answer the question. Luo Wanchi said, you are so strange. Wang Mian is a new science explorer. Many people want to marry such a husband, but you don't want to. I don't want to explain anything to anyone anymore. My words are just clear to me from now on, fortunately. Luo Wanchi did not ask. He covers my traces and protects my stability. B1001 B1001. A month later, Luo Wanchi brought me news, and the Wang family was happy, and my parents finally gave up looking for me. They said that you are sick and recuperating outside. What a good excuse. I asked Luo Wanchi with a smile. Guess when they will tell the outside world that I am dead. Are you really not afraid? Luo Wen said, fear, what are you afraid of? Afraid that the identity of this daughter of the Qin family can no longer bring glory, or can't the title of Mrs. Wang be theft in the future? No, I've tasted those. I have seen, tasted, and swallowed the splendid in the eyes of the world, and I have only a mouthful of bitterness. Feng Mo persuaded me that when my parents were angry, they would tell them the news of me. I said, no need, second sister, that's enough. Not only do I not want to be the wife of the Wang family, but I also don't want to be the daughter of the Qin family. I said, Feng Mo, go and let Wang Mian come to see me. Before that, I wrote to Bai He and asked her to go out of the city to talk. Wang Mian came quickly, and he was still wearing an official uniform. He settled in my small courtyard, looked around, seemed to appreciate it, then pulled out his sleeve and left the book, and threw it in front of me. The paper fluttered lightly to the ground. I was neither happy nor angry. So I bent down to pick it up. There is no sign of him on the letter of departure. I sighed. It's really boring. I'll have someone pack your things for you, he said. I laughed. He talked to himself like this, and he never changed. I looked up. I once told Lord Wang that if he can't leave the peace, he will sever ties. And since Lord Wang refuses to sign this divorce letter, it seems that he wants to sever ties with me. I just don't know. Do he dare to come and bet with me, Lord Wang? Didn't you visit your concubine when you went out this morning? She is pregnant now and will give birth to your most important eldest son. So Lord Wang is not curious where she is now. Wang Mion's expression changed, and he quickly understood. You, don't worry, I said, I take good care of her. As long as you sign this and the divorce letter, Lord Wang, by he and your son will go home safely. Qin, Wang Mion's tone was stern and full of threats. You dare? I was not afraid. Held my chin high, and asked him, by his child, do you want it or not? He now has a weakness, but I am alone. He has a great future, grand ambitions and revenge, and the heavy responsibility of family inheritance, and he does not dare to break the net with me. Sure enough. They looked at each other for a long time. Wang Mion lowered his gaze, he seemed very tired, pinched his eyebrows, and asked me, Bai Niang, why are you like this? He won't understand. Even if he and I are reborn again and again, he won't understand why I have to leave. I said, Wang Mion, sign it, your fate with me is over, and you can't change this ending even if you are reborn in the next life. Wang Mion heard the words for a while, he seemed to find it difficult to accept, and said for a long time, why, don't you know how I treat you? You have a deep affection for me, you will never forget me, you are deeply in love with me, what do you want to say? I interrupted him, Lord Wang, you are not such a person. I laughed, even if you really have sincerity towards me, but in your previous life, you will never forget it. Wang Mion, I hate you to the bone. B1001 B1001. Wang Mion finally ran out of strength. He held the pen in his hand, didn't move for a long time. I didn't urge, he knew my determination. He didn't want my family to be ruined, he could only rely on me. After he signed, I put the divorce letter in my sleeve. I am not happy. I know that Wang Mion did not sincerely approve of my words. He was helpless, because I was holding the white lotus in my hand. Today's thing, if I don't have the slightest chip, he won't do what I want, he will not pity the fragrance and cherish the jade. Wang Mion left, and I asked him to remember to close the door. When he heard this, he stomped his head and asked me, did he have any intention of Luo Wanqi? I'm not surprised. Wang Mion's thoughtfulness is not just words. Yes, I answered. Wang Mion nodded, looked at me again, and then walked away. I sat at the table and placed the books in front of me. Luo Wanqi came in from outside the door and said, I see that Lord Wang is gone. Seeing the book on my table again, he pursed his lips and said, Are you really divorced? Is it fun to eavesdrop? I asked. Luo Wanqi's face turned red. The walls of this small courtyard are low, and the treetops next door are moving slightly. I am not a fool, I even know what Luo Wanqi is doing. Is it true that you told Wang Mion that you were interested in me? I put away and leave the book. What do you think? Do you think I'm going to be that stupid? Luo Wanqi was silent and said for a while, I know, you are ruthless. I smiled indifferently. I have gone through 3 lifetimes, and only this life has been free, all because of my cruelty. I abandoned my identity as the legitimate daughter of the Shilang mansion, and no one will protect me in the future. I have made peace with the future Prime Minister, and no one will dare to marry me again in this life. There is no place for me in the capital. If I wasn't ruthless, how could I dare to cut off all this? What are your plans? Rowan asked me. I said, in the future. I won't have to worry about young Master Luo. I plan to go to Jiangnan. The wet nurse who took care of me was there, and Adu also said that she missed her mother. For me, the closest person in this world is not my parents, nor my eldest sister, nor my husband. Speaking of which, it is the wet nurse and the maid Adu. With them, I will never be bullied. B1001 B1001. On the day I left, Feng Mo came to see me off. He said that his parents already knew that Wang Mion and I were separated. And they were very angry. But second sister, don't worry, I'll help you say good things to your parents. You go to Jiangnan to relax, and when your parents are angry, I'll pick you up. I smiled. Feng Mo is still simple. The reaction of parents is not just angry. Wang Mion has already begun to lecture for the prince, such a promising husband. I have lost it, and they can't wait to unload me into 8 pieces, and I deliberately played missing, which also damaged their reputation. I'm afraid they won't recognize me again, but I don't care anymore. Since I was a child, I have been dispensable at home, and my mother can't see me. when I grew up and picked up my husband, it was my sister's blessing to be in the right place. And the arrangement for me was after marrying a poor child. The game was won, and everyone was very happy. If you lose, you will only sacrifice a daughter. I knew it a long time ago. People's hearts are always biased, and they are not biased towards me. So I don't have a burden on what I did today. The moment I boarded the ship, Feng Mo kept waving to me. I looked back and thought about this capital, and I was afraid that he was the only one who could welcome me in the end. Seeing that I had not spoken, Adu comforted me. Girl, don't be sad. When we arrive in Jiangnan, I will ask my mother to cook food for you. I hooked my lips lightly and said, okay, not sad. The first half of my life was already muddy, but fortunately, there was still a future. Now that I have decided to live well, I will no longer allow myself to be negative. In the future, I will not only have a long life, but I will also be able to worry about it every year.